The types of films that I've made tend to be subversive in nature. What do you do when your expectations don't work out? Rather than pursuing the hero's journey. My life, anyway, was an accumulation of things that didn't work out the way I hoped they would, and so I just started telling stories about people whose expectations didn't work out. I'm Tom Schroeder, and I make hand-drawn, character-driven narrative animated films. Story is very important to my films. The story is always the central motivating reason that I wanted to make the film. Initially, when I started shooting animation with my friend in the barn, there was no sense that there should be an audience or could be an audience. This was just something we were doing for ourselves. And in a way, it was probably the happiest and purest period of my life in relationship to animation because it was so simple. When I was young and I was first interested in film, it was live action filmmaking. I never fancied that I'd become an animator.
Harvey Gustafson, I swear to you, if I hear you tell that horrible story one more time, even one more time in my presence, I'm moving straight in with Angie and Tom.
Well, I guess I know then how to get my piece.
Writing with Harv is just a sort of character study about an old couple that have been married for, I think, 55 years, and they can barely stand each other's company anymore, but they, of course, couldn't live without each other. There's a couple different tendencies in the films that I've made. One is a film that's based off of a short story. Another type would be the documentary animated film tendency, in which I'll get a hold of some documentary audio footage and then base a film off of that.
I was going out with this young girl named Carrie. I was feeling sad, you know, because I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I decided to ride my bike to her house. She lived in Malacca, which is about 48 miles away. And I didn't know how to get there, so I just looked it up on a map, and I found probably the longest way I could have taken to get to Malacca.
The film that I first had some success with in the larger world was called Bike Ride in 2000, and that was one of the documentary-style films. A former student of mine told me this story of riding his bicycle 50 miles to see his girlfriend getting dumped and then having to ride home.
When I saw her, she didn't smile or anything, you know. I thought maybe she'd be happy to see me, like, wow, he rode 5 hours to see me. But there was nothing like that.
I thought, how typical, you know, this great chivalric demonstration of one's affection, and he's riding his bike thinking of how impressed she's going to be, and then she has the opposite reaction. He's so crazy, he rode his bike 50 miles. My God, I got to get away from this guy.
And she basically told me that she didn't want to be with me anymore, physically or whatever.
I had Dave King, the drummer who plays for the Bad Plus, come in and improvise a track to the story.
That might have been one of the things that made her want to break up with me. I was just like, maybe too much.
So it allows me to improvise in the drawing process and to create a style that's much more metamorphic. It flows much more by transformation as opposed to shot making in a traditional sense. So it opens up a different way of storytelling, which is nice as well. Music has always been a big part of my films. There is a parallel between drawing and playing guitar, for example, in the sense that I am improvising the drawing off of a map, off of the structure, and I'm letting the drawings go in a kind of flow of consciousness. In the same way, playing guitar, you're working off of a structure, which is a series of chord changes, and you're trying to improvise something melodically meaningful on top of that. That happens in real time, but there is definitely a parallel between those processes and the flow of ideas. Before the digital drawing technology existed, there was paper. And this is my previous film, Bike Race, some 4,000, 5,000 odd drawings that comprise that 12-minute film, archived in this box. One thing that might set my work apart from other animated films is that I am self-taught in terms of my drawing skills and my filmmaking skills. I've just learned by making films and by a lot of experimentation. I think a lot of what a person does creatively is compensating for certain limitations and then finding their style in the space that exists outside of their technical limitations. So this is a film that I've just started working on called Marcel, King of Tervuren, and I'm drawing for the first time a film on this new tablet, which is a computer screen that I can draw on, and I'm kind of still getting accustomed to the drawing process. Marcel is a rooster who's essentially and unfortunately acting out Greek tragedy with his son and his surroundings. One of the first things you do with a character to get your feeling for it is to do a cycle of locomotion, whether that's running or riding a bicycle or walking. Just this test right here represents a few days of work, maybe 15 to 20 hours of work actually. Each film that I make takes about 2 years. I described animation as jokingly being like being in a 6th century Irish monastery doing illuminated manuscripts, like the human copying machine, just because it is so labor-intensive and repetitive in a way. It's rather gratifying after a lot of work to see something come to life. People started saying, your films seem like animated live-action films, like you want to be making live-action films. And I said, yeah, that's true. So I started sending them to live-action festivals, and now I've been in Sundance a couple times, and you get a lot of attention for that and a lot of access to people and ideas and jobs as well. I hope that people that see my films will feel that they see their own lives reflected in them, that there's some of the struggles and joys and achievements and complications and ambiguities of life are there, and that they can relate to them. And for me, it's always reassuring to find my own life in the films of other people. It makes me feel a part of something.